Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Sycamore Built Podcast. I'm Oelrich, the host of the episode today. And today's guest is Indiana State Athletic Director Nathan Christensen. Here's the episode now. Thanks for joining us today. Today we have a very special guest on the podcast, Indiana State Athletic Director Nathan Christensen. Nathan, thanks for coming on today. How you doing?
Oh, things are great. No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast and really looking forward to connect with our students and alums that get a chance to tune in here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, jumping right in, it's your first year here, Indiana State, making that transition over from the Dakotas. So just how was your first year here, meeting new players, coaches, new community and alumni, like you said? Just walk through how that was for you.
No, it's been great. I think from the get-go, people have been super welcoming. Even when I interviewed, which was crazy, it was on June 4th, it's just coming up here pretty soon, is when I had my on-campus interview. Thankfully, President Goddard extended an invitation for my wife to come as well, and that was really important for us because it's a family move. We have two kids. I've been to Terre Haute multiple times with football trips and basketball trips with being at South Dakota State and Northern Iowa. But for me, it was a family decision, and just from the get-go, people have been super welcoming. We love the restaurant scene. We really love our neighborhood, and people have been fantastic. And also for me, I knew there's a lot of opportunities here. I didn't want to come to a place where I was a caretaker and just turn the lights on.
Right.
Especially with my skill set, I figured that there was a ton of opportunity from the external standpoint to really grow. Work with our donor base, work with our season ticket holders in the community to really build that Sycamore pride and spirit. But since it's crazy, it's coming up on a year, but it was a quick year. A lot of things in our world that the NCAA is dealing with, and our world's been flipped upside down about 1,000 times. But overall, I'm really enjoying it. I love working with the leadership team here, but also just the community is excited about the future here at Indiana State.
Yeah, definitely. You touched quite a bit on community and alumni base, the importance of that. So I'll just jump right into that. What do you think that community and alumni can continue to do good or get better at for the Indiana State athletic program?
Yeah, no, great question. I think overall there's a great foundation here. I think if we look at what historically has been done, obviously the foundation, the Indiana State Alumni Association and then foundation with Andrew Angel and Jeremiah Turner, they've done a great job with that. And I think it's athletics' turn to really make sure that we're singing from the same hymnal and working together to really grow it. Because if you look with us compared to our peers, we are towards the bottom third of philanthropic support to Sycamore athletics. And I look at that as an athletic director's responsibility to really get people excited, have that vision, cast that vision, get people excited about what we can accomplish.
Right.
But if you look at the programs that are successful, it's coming down to resources. And the university supports our athletic department at a high level. But we need to continue to grow our revenue areas, and we've had a really successful year already. I think we've doubled the amount of. I think we're close to double in terms of philanthropic support and corporate sponsorships than we had the previous year. But we got to continue to grow that because when you're dealing with schools such as Murray State, who's investing a lot into men's basketball. When you're dealing with schools like South Dakota State and North Dakota State on the football side of things, they're really investing a ton in football. So we just got to figure out how we fit in this whole world and the areas that we want to be successful in and also focus on the student-athlete experience across the board.
Yeah, so that's a great way, kind of leading into schools winding down, off seasons for athletes, but not so much for you, getting busy, I assume. Or can imagine. So what's that off season, that summer time kind of daily schedule look like for you?
Yeah, it's honestly, we're getting prepared for next fall already. Really, people says, what do you do in the summertime, when there's nothing going on? It's like, actually, I'm not running around with my head cut off going to events, but we're still jam-packed from early mornings to late at night just because we are getting ready for the upcoming fall, making sure our programs are set, working with all of our staff members to make sure they have their plans in place to be successful next fall. But really just continue to look at the future of Indiana State athletics, and that's where I spend a lot of my time on is how can I make sure that we're prepared for success for the future. So when we have the Larry Bird situation that we had, how can we be prepared for those successes? When we had the team go to the NIT championship, how are we prepared for when we have success? If you look at institutions that have that continue having that continued success, they were able to capitalize on the success they had. And we need to make sure that we're prepared for success, like I mentioned. So just we're looking at athletic facility master plans. That's a big piece that I'm working on right now with Brian Duncan here on campus, and obviously certain players, President Goddard's involved, and working with some private entities in the community.
Right.
The mayor's going to be involved with it. So there's a lot of different aspects to making sure that our facilities are where they need to be at so we can attract great recruits, because we're not going to be able, in this world of NIL, we're not going to be able to afford the same student athlete that goes to Ohio State or even DePaul up in Chicago because they're in the Big East. But for us, we have three things that we can really hit on. Is they're going to have an unbelievable student athlete experience, they're going to get treated really well here, and they're going to get a great education. So we need to really focus on those areas.
So yeah, I was just about to get into that NIL and how you guys kind of maneuver your way through, especially these last couple of years. It's been a really big hitting point for athletes. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but just speaking on it more, how you guys, what advantages you show to those possible recruits or transfers from different colleges.
Yeah, so, obviously it's really for us is men's basketball and baseball in terms of working with, Crossroads of Champions, which is our NIL platform. It's a community, really a group of people that have come together to really help us grow our NIL and our collective money for our student athletes. Obviously, there's a lot of changes going on right now with the NCAA House settlement that's going to go into effect here in July 1, more than likely. So this all may change in the near future, but they've done a really good job of growing that area so we can attract good student athletes, especially with men's basketball and baseball, because that's a sport that from a NIL standpoint, that one, our donor base wants to support, but two, that we have to be in that space. So for us, it's we are working with our student athletes and different packages that they receive, working with NIL, but also we do it the right way. We're not offering silly amount of money to these student athletes, but they are getting compensated for through our collective for that for being a part of our basketball program. So it's Matthew has done an unbelievable job this offseason of we kept a core group of guys and we're really excited about those guys that are coming back. Really talented group, and then we got even talented more on the guys that we brought in. So, and obviously then you look at football. I know you want to touch on this, but
yeah.
The style of play that we have, new offensive scheme. Kurt and I had a lot of conversations in the offseason about that, and obviously going to spring ball and watch them compete, it was a lot of fun. So hopefully our fan base is excited when they come on the Memorial Stadium on Saturdays to watch our team compete, because the ball's going to be flying around, it's going to be quick, and then obviously with one of the best quarterbacks in our conference, in Elijah Owens, the dude is just a leader, and he wants to win, and he does things the right way, and he's just an unbelievable student athlete, and we got they did a really good job in the portal this past off season, so a lot of positives on that front coming up here this fall.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about football, obviously for you, coming from a really good program, and just talk about the importance of having, I guess, a good football program behind a college athletic program for the community, for just the program in general, for the players. Just talk on that.
Yeah, for sure. From my standpoint, it just builds a lot of school spirit, right? It's the first major sport that starts off the fall season. It can really build that, with homecoming, it's already a built-in thing, and it should be a proud moment, not only for our alums, but our community to really get excited about homecoming, get excited about football, because that really kicks off the school year. And I think just the school pride factor is a big thing. I think if you have a successful football program, it'll build into the basketball season and get our basketball student athletes excited because of the success that happened in the fall. So there's a lot of things. It doesn't matter if it's soccer, volleyball, or football. Success breeds success, and I'm a firm believer in that. And we just need, at the end of the day, we want to make sure all of our programs are in a position to be successful, and making sure that they're set up to win ball games and have a great experience.
Right. And then continuing on with football, we were talking about this before the podcast, the MVFC just announced partnership with the Summit League. So big partnership there, and go on and on about sponsorships for football and other sports. But your thoughts on their new partnership?
Yeah, so, Patty Viverito, she was the Missouri Valley Football Conference commissioner for years, and she's going to be retiring here in June. So it was a chance for both leagues. Obviously, there's really three conferences, because you got Youngstown that's in the Horizon League, but then you got the Dakota schools that are in Summit League and everybody else in the Missouri Valley. So it was a natural fit for us to have this partnership with the Summit League, because with Patty retiring, who's going to kind of take over the torch? Well, if you look at the Dakota schools, they're the kind of leaders in the clubhouse in football because of the way they emphasize that sport, but also with just with them being the kind of the natural flagship institutions in their state. So for us, it's a really good partnership because it provides Missouri Valley Conference some positives. It also provides the Summit League some positives, and having both commissioners involved is really important because I had a chance to work with Josh Fenn at South Dakota State because he was a commissioner of the Summit League. He's a super sharp individual, and obviously I've had a chance to work with Jeff Jackson this past year. So they both bring great value to the room and to the conversations moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. So want to flip it back to you for these last few questions. So game days throughout the season, what does a normal day look like for Nathan Christensen? Fill me in your shoes.
Yeah, I always think it's going to be a normal day, and then a curveball comes my way. But I would say, a normal on a game day standpoint, I'm really big about making sure that I get to interact with as many people as possible. If it's in the varsity club room, if it's on the concourse, if it's, usually my family comes along with me. So I know my wife really enjoys coming to the games and interacting with our fans and season ticket holders, because for us, it's all about making sure that our fans have a great experience, because we need them in the stands to make it possible for us to have a good product on the court, in the field. And they can truly make a big impact in terms of, obviously, just making noise in the stands, but also because buying season tickets, being a part of the varsity club, being part of the investor society. So there's so many positives. So really for me, it's making sure that I interact with our coaches and student athletes on game days, but then also with our fans and donor base, because it's all about the people. At the end of the day, if we win a championship, you're not going to hug the trophy. You're going to hug the people that made it a reality. So that's what it's all about for me, is the people and how we can build this community to have continued success across the board. Obviously, if you look at sports like the recent success, obviously track and field and cross country, they've had success forever. We just honored John McNichols and named the track at the Gibson Track and Field Complex after him. But then obviously baseball's had a ton of success recently. So we just need to continue that along the way. And obviously soccer had the most wins this past fall ever in the Division I era. So there's some great things that we can hang our hat on. We just got to continue to build that so we can be a part of my biggest goal for Indiana State is to be a top mid-major program. And I certainly know that basketball is really important in the state of Indiana. And obviously that was shown this past year in the Holman Center. We had a record number of, we had the third highest attendance in any Missouri Valley Conference program this year. So people love their basketball, and we were in every game. So I'm really excited about what's ahead for the future of Indiana State.
Yeah, of course. And talking about excitement of the future, but first off, on the past, your first year, what do you think your most exciting moment I guess, so to say, of your first year, or your favorite moment?
Yeah, I would say my favorite moment, that's a good one. I had a couple things. I think on the kind of the community side of things, we signed a really large deal with Union Health, and that was really kind of a proud moment for us because of the fact that there really wasn't a relationship there prior, and that we're blocks apart from each other. And I think for me, that was really exciting for myself, President Andrew Angel, to really work together with Steve Holman and his team at the Union Health to really get that deal done. But I think for me, it's looking at our student athletes in terms of what they do, my interactions with them in the hallways, at practice. That's what I get excited about.
Yeah.
Certainly watching them compete is fun. Like when we beat North Dakota at home in football, that was awesome. We had some great basketball wins in the Holman Center this year. That was a lot of fun, obviously. The Illinois State game was great, and the crowd was rocking, and that was just a really great basketball game. But I think when I look at just my things that I get excited about is that we had a record number of student athletes. I think it was 80% of our student athletes, it was 80%, had a 3.0 or higher GPA. That was a record number for us ever. So for us, that's what it's all about, is making sure that these student athletes are successful in the classroom.
Student first.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what it's all about for me, and that's what I get excited about.
Yeah, definitely. So then talking about the future now,
yeah.
What are you looking forward to most, or a few things these coming years for the program?
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned earlier, we're working through an athletic facility master plan that's really going to look at 4 areas. The Bob Warren Field, it's a great ballpark. Just looking at potentially expanding their clubhouse. Their clubhouse needs to be remodeled, and then looking at adding some premium seating within that area. And then also looking at the South Gym where basketballs and volleyballs practice at. It's kind of the central hub of all of our athletic department and a lot of our student athletes with the weight room, athletic training, the practice gyms. Just when you walk in there, it's 1980. So we got to really update that. We're working through that right now. And then Holman Center, it's a beautiful facility, but we need some premium seats. For us, from a revenue standpoint, we have a suite right now that we split in half, and we can't accommodate everyone that wants access to it. So we feel there's an uptick there. And then at the end of the day, we got to find out what we can do with the home for football and soccer. Obviously, the Memorial Stadium is it's been around a long time. It's a great, the locate in terms of the space, it's awesome, just with all the grassy area. But we just need to continue to look at analyzing what's a future for that piece as well. And then overall is just building that sense of pride for Sycamores and alums and fans in the community, that when you're walking through the airport and when you hear someone says, "Go Sycamores," if you're in the Dallas, Texas airport or San Francisco airport, wherever you are, when someone
they
says,
shout it back.
It's awesome, right? And then that's why I enjoy word my Sycamore stuff through. Doesn't matter where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that's something that I take pride in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
for coming on today. Really appreciate you taking some time to come and talk.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys for joining me today. That was the Sycamore Built Podcast. Thank you for joining us again today for another Sycamore Built Podcast. Once again, I've been Oelrich. You can check out our show on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcasts. You can also check out our social media pages for more episodes coming out.